Welcome back to another exciting episode of Me and My Health Up. I'm your host, Anthony Hartcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. The purpose of this podcast is to enhance and enlighten your well-being. And I will be doing that just for you on today's exciting episode of navigating challenges. How to navigate through challenging times. So how do you navigate yourself through challenging times? And I'm going to be giving you some tips, some guidance as to how to navigate exciting times. So we're going to be talking about a bit of psychology, a bit of mindset. Yes, sometimes people refer to this as positive psychology, but it's not all positive psychology. So we're going to be talking about how to navigate through challenging times and building resilience so that you can remain resilient through challenging times. So let's get into today's episode. The three areas I'm going to cover is understanding challenges, how they serve us and what they're there for. And we're going to then talk about how to then navigate through your challenges in these times that we're in. And thirdly is building resilience. So let's buckle up and let's get into the episode. So why challenges? Why do we get given challenges? So challenges are here to help us grow. We attract challenges into our life to help us grow and to thrive, to help us develop. Challenges just for the hell of challenges. They're there to help us evolve as humans, as human beings. So without challenges, we don't evolve. We wouldn't have what we have around us today if it wasn't through challenges and challenging times. So, for example, this medium at which I'm hosting today through is very much conducive to helping people to communicate via the pandemic that we just had, COVID. So COVID's brought about technology improvements. It's brought about changes in the way in which we communicate. There's a lot more video conferencing done today than ever before. When you consider pre-COVID, video conferencing was not really a done thing. I remember doing phone conferences. We used to do audio conferences, but video conferences, no. And today, people spend their whole day doing video conferences. So the COVID challenge certainly brought enhancements in technology. It brought enhancements in health and research and understanding of viruses. It's also brought enhancements in terms of how our medical facilities or our hospitals can serve the population or large vast of huge people in terms of getting them through and vaccinated. Systems are set up and processes are set up to really help, immunize a large population. It served, our health. It served our technology. It served how we work. We've got more flexibility in the workplace now as a result of having the COVID challenge. So yeah, COVID, it certainly had its downsides, but it also had upsides. And we found those upsides over time. But in the moment, there was a tendency to focus on the downside in terms of what we had lost when we were put into lockdown. But then we started to realize the benefits of lockdown. And now that we're, pretty much COVID free, or we have certainly a lot more tolerance to living a life with COVID, people are still a bit hesitant about going back to the old way of life because they've enjoyed so many aspects of COVID in terms of working from home. So now employers are struggling to get people back into the office because they've developed habits that they like around working from home. And so now employers are now having a struggle to get people to work back in the office. But it's also opened employers up to having more flexibility for their employees. So it's brought that as well. So challenges are brought to us to help us to grow. I want you to think about a challenge you've had in your life. So whether it be a relationship challenge, whether it be a health challenge, whether it be a financial challenge, whether it be a work challenge, a career challenge, or an intellectual challenge, whatever the challenge that you've had, I want you to think back at a time you had a challenge at that time and you perceive that challenge as overwhelming. Over time, you've got through that challenge and you look back and you think, oh, that was great. That really enhanced me in terms of where I'm at with my life. So, for example, I can reflect back to all my challenges in my life and I can see the benefits with having that time lapse. However, what we're going to look at today is how can you have the foresight or the ability to think through the challenge at the time without having that hindsight of time looking back at it and then thinking it was a good thing? How can you have a, a good outlook in terms of what's happening in terms of your challenges now, as opposed to, oh, it's all bad. I perceive it as all bad. However, you realize over the course of time, it's not all bad. And there is good with it as well. It's completely balanced, except at the time, you're just blinded to the upside and very conscious of the downside. So we can get that in a given moment by looking for what we're not seeing. So if you're only seeing negativity about the challenge, then ask yourself, what is the positive of what you're experiencing and how does it serve you and what's most important to you? So this is part of the exercise that we're going to be going through with a current challenge of yours. So just do that little reflection now as to going back as to the challenge that you've had in the past, that you conquered, that you look back now and just think how well it served you. I can think back at a health challenge I had when I was a little kid. I spent a lot of time in hospital with gluey ears and constant ear infections, constant throat infections, and just generally feeling very unwell. Went into hospital for various operations around inserting of grommets to widen my ear canal, removing my tonsils. So I had all these operations as an early kid, and at that time I perceived myself as a very sick kid. And now looking back at that really drove me to fulfill that void of me thinking that I was missing health in my life. And so then it drove me to get healthier and to do things around health, which has really served me to what I'm doing today. I'm now sharing with you hot tips around health and well-being. And I guess at that time, that adversity that I was experiencing has really served me to what I'm doing today, in that reflection back to my memory of that time when I felt really sick and that I was a sick kid and that it was negative and I was spending a lot of time in hospitals with specialists, with doctors. However, looking back, it served me well in terms of put me on a great course to be healthy and to be really fit as a 47-year-old today. So that's really served me, reflecting back on that experience. And I reflect back on when I was at university and I failed a couple of exams. And at the time, I thought I was a failure. I failed 2 exams and it really set me back in terms of I couldn't progress well with the course because of the subjects I failed were a prerequisite for just about everything the following year. And at the time, I was thinking this has set me back a whole year, failing 2 subjects. And I thought, oh, such a failure and hopeless. But what it did is it then made me so determined to then master those subjects and then master future subjects. And I ended up with honours as a result of failing 2 subjects. I ended up with honours when I graduated. So it was those 2 subjects that really put me on the course to putting my head down and study hard. And I worked really hard and I ended up achieving honours. Yes, these challenges serve us, but we can have that vision at that moment as opposed to having it in hindsight and looking back and thinking, oh yeah, it was a good thing. But you can have it right now in terms of your outlook. So if you're worried about the cost of living, or you're worried about rising interest rates, or you're worried about your job, or with AI taking over your job, all these sorts of things are potential worries that someone could have. And the costs of, rent going up, or where you're going to live and what career and all these things, obviously concern us as we go through the course of life. Relationships, sometimes there's a bit of tension in the relationship and you can be really concerned about the, longevity of the relationship. You can be concerned about your health in a moment and the longevity of your health and whether there's a promise or, some sort of positive outlook. And you can ask yourself, how is what you're experiencing serving you in terms of what you value? And keep asking yourself that question and you'll find the answers. It's incredible. I ask myself now what's the benefit of rising interest rates? Well, it helps me better manage my finances. I'm now looking at my outgoings. I'm looking at where I could save money. I'm starting to question all my subscriptions. Do I really need this subscription? And I'm canceling things that I don't really need, that aren't really providing me a huge benefit and not really serving me well. I just sort of was doing it for at a point in time it was serving me, but then over time it hasn't. And then so I've questioned it. And now I'm not doing that and I'm saving money in that area. And so what it's done, what this rising cost of living has really got me looking at my outgoings and where I can be more efficient in terms of where I'm spending my money. Am I spending money on things that really I truly value? If I'm not, then let go of it. And so there could be subscriptions like to all these streaming services that you signed up during COVID that you're not utilizing today. So you can go and look through and think, hey, I'm not watching that anymore. I'm not hardly ever looking at that. I don't have time for that anymore. I'm spending all my time out socializing. So therefore you could cancel that subscription. And you got that ongoing savings then, as opposed to just keep paying it because it's just there and you haven't looked at it. Well, rising cost of living actually makes you look at where you're spending your money. And then you start to look at your income. How can I get more creative and get more sources of income? How can I increase my income? Do I ask my boss for a pay rise? Do I negotiate a pay rise? Or do I look for a higher paying job? And so it can serve you right in that moment by looking at how can I reduce my costs? What things can I cut out? How can I look at increasing my income? What other services can I provide my clients? Where else can I add value to my clients so I serve them better, enhance their outcome, and get remunerated proportionally for the service I'm providing? So you can do that in paid employment, you can do it in your business, or what other service package offering can you set up in your business that there's clients out there looking to buy? There's people always looking to buy something. They're looking to spend their money on something. However, today, they're a bit more picky where they spend their money. They're not just throwing money around. So you need to be smarter, more creative in terms of how you serve your clients, in terms of how you deliver your work in the workplace, and how do you make yourself more productive in the workplace so you can warrant that pay rise. So you can go to your boss saying, look, I've increased my productivity by 20%. Look at all the work I'm doing now. And they're probably thinking, well, yeah, you're probably doing 1.2 jobs. Therefore, yeah, we could give you maybe we split the difference and we give you a 10% pay rise. But anyway, you probably hear and get where I'm coming from in terms of it drives creativity. Problems drive creativity. We look for solutions. We start to look for answers. If without that problem, we get complacent, don't we? We get complacent with our clients. We get complacent with our lifestyle. Challenges come to help us grow and thrive. We go to a new level of thinking in order to overcome that problem. And therefore we have an elevated level of thinking as a result of that problem. So the more problems in our life, the more problems we encounter, the more we elevate our IQ, our wellness quotient as well. Our health also is elevated because we're having a greater purpose in terms of what we're doing and serving humankind. We're doing more and we're able to serve more people, and therefore we value ourselves even more. And we're looking at ways in which we can increase our health, and so we can live a more purposeful life longer. So again, there's so many things and they're all tied in together. It's like relationships. When you have relationship challenges, haven't you found that challenge has actually bonded you together closer, or that challenge has enabled you to go separate ways, which you're both better off for doing? So it was the catalyst, and COVID was the catalyst for lots of relationship breakdowns that were just hanging by the string, but needed some sort of challenge in order to break that string and allow both people to thrive, because they weren't thriving together in that relationship. It enabled them to go their own ways and to become better people and much more, people that are, more embracing life and living life, as opposed to just doing stuff to get by, because they're just doing whatever to please that relationship just to keep it together for the sake of keeping it together. But then they question the relationship they're in whilst they were forced in lockdown, and they went their separate ways, and they'll be looking back and thinking, thank God for COVID. It got us separated, and I'm so much in a better place today as a result of COVID. When we have arguments, arguments can be really constructive. What it enables both sides to do is express themselves. Obviously, there's not so constructive arguments when there's too much emotion involved, but arguments to a point can be really constructive in terms of people are really speaking out in terms of how they're feeling. They're no longer sugarcoating how they're feeling and thinking everything's okay or saying I'm okay. They're actually expressing themselves, and the other person knows where they're coming from, so the other person knows how to better help them, better serve them, and better help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. And you work together because you understand each other's needs. So relationships are also served. I mentioned finances and how they're served during challenging times. In terms of your education, so I mentioned before around increasing your income, and you can do that through looking at more ways to serve your clients, more ways to serve your employer, your company. The other thing you can do is invest into your education. And as a result of investing into education, you become more employable. You pick up additional skill sets. You become more valuable to your employer or more valuable to your clients as a result of getting those additional skill sets. That can be another area which you can look to invest in, is if you're challenged in a particular area, how can I get more knowledge in that area to empower me so I can get better at managing my finances? You might feel quite disempowered with your finances, not quite sure where to start in terms of cutting costs and or increasing your income. So therefore you seek a professional's help in that area, and you become more knowledgeable, more empowered, so that next time the rising costs of living come into play, you're empowered and you know what to do to overcome them. It's like next time we get a pandemic, we're a lot more better off from the last pandemic in terms of how to navigate the next pandemic. We all are. The governments are. Us as citizens are. Us as companies are better armed in terms of how to navigate a pandemic now. We're all the better. We have that knowledge now. So again, you can seek knowledge in a particular area that you're challenged, so that to help you navigate through it. So, for example, with health, if you're encountering a health challenge, then what does it do? How does it serve you? It gets you invested back into your health. It helps you refocus in terms of, yes, I better make health a priority. My health slipped, and so therefore now I'm going to refocus on my health. I'm going to get back to exercise. I'm going to get back to eating well. So as much as you see an illness as a disservice to you, it's a positive in terms of getting you to refocus and reprioritize your health. And so it's a benefit, as well as at the time you saw it as a drawback, but it's completely just as it is. And it was there to serve you, to get you back to focus on your health, to focus on your longevity, to focus on your optimal well-being. And so illness helps drive us to wellness. So whenever I get sick, I refocus back on the foundations. What am I compromising? And hence, why did I get sick? I might have been compromising on my sleep. I might have been overactive and not getting enough rest. So therefore, that's why I'm sick. So therefore, going forward, I'm going to focus more on that balance between activity and rest. Okay, so I've just come back from a holiday, so I could totally relate to the benefits of having some R&R time and some downtime, so to speak, to really help me refocus my health efforts, which refocuses my work efforts, because I'm much more alert and much more energetic, and I can put more into my work. Again, you get payback in more ways than just one, and than just that area of health. You get paybacks in all other areas of health. If you're feeling great about yourself because your health and well-being is improving, your relationships will improve too, because you'll have more balanced hormones, you'll be more balanced emotionally, you'll have more self-regulation around your emotions, and so therefore you're going to have more constructive conversations, as opposed to overreacting to certain things that happen, or certain things that a partner says to you that you overreact because you haven't got emotional regulation, or you might be overtired or over emotional or have a hormonal imbalance, whatever it may be. If you're improving your health, you'll also improve your relationships as well as your wealth, because you'll be more productive at work. So I hope that really helps in terms of understanding how challenges can help us grow. And in terms of what we can do about it, it's very much, as I said, in the moment of when you're experiencing that challenge, ask yourself, what is the upside? What is the benefits? How is this serving me and what I value? So I've mentioned before that I value my health. So how does illness serve me? Well, illness gets me to refocus on my health, which is going to help me long term. It's going to give me more longevity, because in that process of refocusing on my health, I'm going to pick up new, healthier habits. I'm going to look at other ways in which I can improve my health. How do I further optimize my health so I don't get ill again? Recently, you know about the operation I had with my hernia. I had a double hernia operation, right? But how did that serve me? Well, I've realized that I was pushing too much. And what is a hernia? It's a protrudement from the body, right? So I spent years of just pushing myself. And so that was the metaphor for me. Okay, the hernia is representing me over pushing myself, over exerting myself, and not allowing enough balance, and not allowing time for things to play out and for results to come, and being impatient and wanting immediate results. I'm now far more patient. I now don't push myself as much. I just realize that I'm here for the long game. So my health, I'm not pushing my exercise. I'm more finding that optimal point as to how much I need to, in terms of grow my body or to develop my body, or to, in a healthy way, how much do I need to do? And then allow so much time to recover from that activity. Whereas before, it was just constantly pushing. I need to be pushing harder. And as a result of that, I got 2 hernias, right, that I had 2 operations on. And so now I'm much more conscious. It's improved my conscious towards finding that balance between overexertion, pushing, and finding that time, when to relax, when to pull back. I now know that. I better understand my boundaries. So that's how that served me. That's how that operation has served me. So I want you to now reflect of the challenge you have that you're facing. What is it, and how is it serving you? I've mentioned some examples around finances, around empowering you in that area, around seeking professional help and getting empowered in that area by seeking professional help. So start to think as to how that challenge is serving you. How is that relationship challenge serving you? Maybe it's your children that you're concerned about. Maybe it's time to get educated in terms of how to raise that phase of child. Like, so your child might be going through the tweeny years. I think it's the 20 years, pre-teenager or teenager years. How to raise a successful teenager. Get some expert help. Read some books. Start to look about how you can better serve them, or better understand them as to how then you can better serve them. So get educated. That's what that challenge is there for. Don't just keep doing the same old thing and then expecting different results. Something's got to change. You either need to get educated or get professional support, or to talk to others that have successfully raised teenagers. What did they do? What worked for them? Start consulting others. Start, again, reaching out for support, empowering you, elevating your thinking. And so then you'll start to see these challenges. It's helping me grow as a parent. And so that when your next child goes through that at that age, you're better able to help them. You've been through the hard yards. You're now empowered, and you can really help them navigate those difficult years. So I hope that really helps around just seeing that problem, that challenge, as something that's serving you and enabling you to grow as a human, enabling you to thrive. The other thing is, you might get really invested in terms of empowering yourself around how to raise a teenager, and you read copious amounts of research, and you really it enlightens you, and you think, I could help so many other parents. And you could then set up some courses and then run some paid courses as additional income to help the rising cost of living. Or you could start up an association or a Facebook group and get like-minded parents together and work together through these challenges. And then invite a presenter or an expert on the subject into that association to share their knowledge and empower all of you. So you can start to not only help yourself, but help others in the process. You could develop a source of income through this as well. So there's so many ways once you start opening up your mind and expanding it to what is it and how is it serving you, you start to find creative solutions and benefits to what you're experiencing. And you really balance that situation so that it no longer becomes a negative or traumatic event. It actually elevates you. It enhances you. You know, this podcast is to enhance and enlighten your well-being. It enlightens you. It takes you to another level of thinking. And therefore, at that next level of thinking, you'll attract the next problem to then elevate you. And this is how companies grow and develop, is through encountering problems. That's the only way companies thrive in terms of there's changing economic circumstances, there's changing environment. The world is in constant change. It's in constant flux. Nothing ever stops. It's always moving. And so because of that constant change, we're going to experience new things. And that elevates our level of conscious awareness. It elevates our IQ. It elevates us as a human race. It evolves us. When I was growing up, we were talking about, exploring the moon, and, that was such an accomplishment. Now we're talking about humans on Mars. Okay. So it's the next level. We've now conquered the moon. We can get people to the moon. We understand the moon. We've studied the moon. We're now going to go something far greater. We're ready for the next challenge, the next frontier, which is Mars. Okay. So this is how we evolve. And you think about electricity. It was, back when I was growing up, it was all coal-fired electricity. It was, a bit of uranium, a bit of, so there was uranium, there was coal, there was a bit of gas and whatnot, but there was hardly any solar. There was hardly any wind power. There was hardly any wave power. All those have evolved through being challenged with the other forms of electricity. So, yes, they've served us and they've helped us to get us to where we are today. But we have now elevated technology, elevated consciousness, elevated knowledge, that now we can solve the problems that we couldn't solve back then, that were too difficult because we didn't have the technology to solve them. We didn't have the computing power to solve them. Now we do. We have the intellectual knowledge. We have all the research done, and we're able to move on to new forms of energy. This is human evolution. This is the way in which we evolve, and it's all through challenges. Okay. We're challenged with global warming. It's a good thing. It does. It gets us to rethink in terms of our energy mix, in terms of our sources of energy, in terms of how we use energy. Okay. We rethink and we get creative in terms of coming up with new ways of developing energy. So it's good. Okay. It's not all bad. It serves us. It helps evolve our thinking. It helps elevate our thinking to the next problem that we encounter. So we're always, as we evolve with our intellectual knowledge, our know-how, we get ready for the next problem. We encounter the next problem. Then we evolve to the next level, to the next level. This is constant evolution. This is constant growing. This is us thriving as human beings. So even if you resolve the cost of living problem today, you'll go to the next problem, okay? And then from there, you'll go to the next one. And this is life, because it's in a constant state of motion. It's not still. Nothing's ever still. It's in constant state of motion. And when we're in a constant state of flux, things around us are changing. We need to be able to adapt and change. So this brings me to resilience. And we've spoken so far in this episode about that mindful resilience, how to elevate your thinking so that you see that the problem is not just bad, it's good as well. There's a mixture of good and bad about it, but it is what it is. and it's there to serve you, to elevate your thinking so that you can grow. Okay, so that's the mindset. You need to ask yourself, how is it serving you? If it's a problem too greater for you to conquer, then seek help. Like I said, go and talk to people that know how to solve that problem. Get professional help. Seek friends who you know that have successfully navigated that problem. Seek their advice. And again, we get people together, we can solve problems better, more effectively. Again, same with relationship issues, same with health issues, financial issues. All these things can be either you empower yourself through educating yourself in terms of how to solve it, or doing a bit of both, educating yourself, getting other people in to give their input and support and to help you navigate through it. So as a collective, we can get through it together. Sometimes you can solve the problems by yourself, but tackle the problem. Don't run away from it. Don't avoid the problem, because if you run away or avoid the problem, it's just going to keep running into you because it's there to help you grow. Okay. As much as you think that you might get away from it in that moment, you'll bump into it again in the next relationship, in the next economic cycle. Sometimes it's going to come back. Okay. So what we resist persists. Remember that. If you're resisting something, it's going to persist. So conquer it, take it on, okay? Challenge yourself and see the challenge as elevating your conscious awareness, your conscious knowledge, elevating yourself, helping you grow, helping others grow in the process. So that's really important, okay? I hope you've really taken away that point in terms of looking how it is serving you and what you can do about it in terms of navigating your way through it. And optimal growth occurs at the border of challenge and support. So if you're perceiving way too much challenge and you're thinking it's way too big, then that's when you need to elevate the amount of support to get there, to get to that optimal point of growth. Okay. If the challenge is so big and you don't have the support, then it does overwhelm us. So what I want you to do is also acknowledge when that gap's just too big. At that point in time, seek help. Go and get help. Get help from a professional. Get help from those around you. Elevate the support so that you can grow with the challenge, as opposed to being. The other thing is, if it overwhelms us, it starts to overcome us, then it can really get us down. So that's what we don't want. So make sure you get the support in order to meet the challenge, and then you can grow together with the challenge, as opposed to being overwhelmed. Okay, so now in terms of the resilient side of things, we've talked a lot about the mindset. Now, the other parts is to start looking after you. So making sure you're getting rest, making sure you're getting a good night's sleep, by knowing that you've done everything that day that you wanted to get done in order to conquer that challenge, and that you'll rise tomorrow to tackle it again. Okay, so but put those things that you didn't get done that day ready for the next day, so that they're ready. You can have a restful mind. You're not thinking about it, mulling about it overnight. You're allowing yourself that, okay, yep, I've had a good day. I've tackled these things, got these things done. I'm going to allow the grace of time. I'm going to allow myself to get some rest. And next, I'll wake up rejuvenated, ready to tackle the next task in order to progress that challenge, in order to tackle that challenge. So making sure that you're allowing time to get through the challenge. Don't get impatient like I have in the past. And you're allowing yourself to get a good night's sleep by just taking it in small chunks, breaking that bigger challenge down into bite-sized chunks. What is it I can do today to tackle that bigger challenge? What is it that's going to help me towards tackle? And it could be just start making some phone calls as to what sort of support I can get in terms of this challenge, okay? And make those phone calls that day and be satisfied that you've made the phone calls. The next day, start actioning on those phone calls and just start progressing through it. And as you're noticing the progress, you'll start to feel that you're doing something about it. It's not just ignoring and hoping it goes away, and then it's just not going away, and that eats away at you. Whereas if you're chipping away at you're eating away at it, and you're overcoming it. Whereas if you're ignoring it, it will start chipping away with you subconsciously, and you will end up being consumed by it. Okay. I want you to be the consumer and not it to consume you. So break it down into small bite-sized bits, do what you can do each day, and then leave the rest for the next day. You can delegate some of the actions to others, but get back into it the next day. And this can be with any work challenge, with any career challenge, with any financial challenge, relationship challenge. Okay, so maybe you say, well, let's leave it where it's at. I hear your point of view. Let me think about it. I really want to come back with a thoughtful response. Allow me to consider it. And then that leaves it with you saying, look, you're important to me. You're letting them know that you're important to them, or they're important to you. And you just want some time to consider how best to get back to, in terms of the right response, in terms of how you can best fulfill their needs whilst fulfilling your needs, a win-win response. Make sure you get good sleep, good rest. As I said again, make sure you're getting support to tackle that challenge. Now, the other thing is making sure you're nourishing yourself, making sure you're drinking water, making sure you're eating good fuel to get you through the challenge. So you don't see, this is the other thing. If you're not tackling the challenge bite by bite and consuming it, what will happen is it will start consuming you bite by bite. You'll feel unfulfilled and feel like you're getting overwhelmed. And then you'll seek external instant gratification to provide some immediate relief, and that is in the form of food. And so you'll start to consume food that isn't nourishing you as a result of you ignoring that problem and hoping it will go away. Okay. Whereas if you're tackling that problem, you feel that you're making progress. You've got more emotional control because you're tackling the problem. You're doing something about it. And with that, having that more emotional regulation, you won't be run by that part of your brain that just is the desire center that desires sugar and fat. Okay. You won't be run by that part of the brain. You'll have governance over that part of the brain, the desire center, and you'll be able to make decisions that are going to help nourish your body to help, again, tackle that problem the next day, to have the right fuel to tackle the problem the next day. So when you're eating away at that problem, you will know that you're making progress towards it, and you'll know the result will come in time. Delayed gratification. Okay. You'll get a result in time. Whereas if you allow the problem to eat you and you ignore it and hope it goes away, that's eating you. And as a result of that problem overwhelms you. That desire center gets really active because you feel that there's a huge void. There's something missing. It's not fair. Why is the world doing this to me? And then you go for that packet of biscuits, that block of chocolate, that tub of ice cream. You consume it all and you feel okay in that moment, but then that problem's still there and you haven't tackled it, okay? And so then you got this scenario that's compounding on you. You're not nourishing your body. You're seeking immediate gratification. It's going to eat away at you at nighttime because you're not progressing it. So therefore you're going to be thinking about, I hope it goes away. Oh, why does this have to happen to me? And you'll start to ruminate on it, which will affect your sleep. Sleep deprivation, as I've said in previous episodes, results in you the next day looking for ways to get yourself through the day. And therefore you're going to consume foods that are highly calorific to help you get through the day because you're so sleep deprived. You'll consume a lot of caffeine. And therefore, the next night's sleep will be compromised because you've eaten rubbish, you've dosed up on caffeine, you haven't progressed anything towards solving that problem, you're hoping it will go away, and it compounds. It just compounds and compounds. And as I said, it just overwhelms you. It starts to consume you. So you need to break it down, tackle it bite size by bite size, get support, make sure you have dedicated tasks to achieve that day. You focus on just achieving those tasks for that day. Then the ones that haven't been done, they go to the next day. You get a good night's sleep. You nourish your body because you're inspired by getting on top of this challenge. You've got self-governance over that desire center. You start eating better. You're fueling yourself. You get a good night's sleep. You're ready to go the next day. You're fueled to go, ready to go. And if you keep doing this day after day, you'll get progress. You'll start to overcome the obstacle. You'll start to overcome the challenge, and then you'll look back and see that challenge was on the way and it was never in the way. If you try to ignore that problem, you'll see the challenge as being in the way, as stopping you. But if you see that challenge as something to help you grow and to help you thrive and to help you become a better person, that challenge is always going to be on the way to you becoming a better person. So I'm going to leave it there. I really hope you've got a lot out of this insightful episode in terms of how to tackle challenges in really difficult times, how to build some resilience, how to think about those challenges, how to think through those challenges, get help when needing it, and look after yourself. And if you've got any questions, please get back to me. I'm here to serve you. I would be more than happy to help you through your challenges or help you go and, help you set up a plan to tackle that challenge, or help you get the right level of support to get you through that challenge, or help you with your mindset to get over procrastinating on the challenge. I can help you with all those things. So please reach out. I'm here to serve. Anthony at me&my.wellness.com.au. Anthony at me&my.wellness.com.au. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and share it. Leave a review. I really want this to get out to as many people as possible because I want to help them during these so-called or perceived difficult times. As you know, they're not difficult times. They're on the way for us thriving as a human race, evolving and bringing us together to help solve these problems. That's what problems do. They bring people together to bring us closer together, okay? So that then we grow together and we're heading in the same direction together as a human race. So it brings us together too. That's the other good thing about having challenges, is that it unites us. Okay, so hope you have a great week and give me feedback. If there's topics that you want to hear more about, please let me know, because I'd love to either find the right guest, the right expert to talk about them, or if it's appropriate that I talk about them, give you another workshop in terms of whatever the subject may be that's associated with my skill set, or if it's someone else's skill set, I'll get them in to help you. Have a great day, evening, week, and until next time, take care. Podcast disclaimer. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it do not constitute medical, healthcare, or professional advice and are provided for general information purposes only. All care is taken in the preparation of the information in this podcast. Connected Wellness Proprietary Limited, operating under the brand me&my Health Up, does not make any representations or give any warranties about its accuracy, reliability, completeness, or suitability for any particular purpose. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it are not to be used as a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, psychiatric, or any other mental health care or healthcare in general. me&my Health Up recommends you seek the advice of a doctor or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Inform your doctor of any changes that you may to your lifestyle and discuss these with your doctor. Do not disregard medical advice or delay visiting a medical professional because of something you hear in this podcast. This podcast has been carefully prepared on the basis of current information. Changes in circumstances after publication may affect the accuracy of this information. To the maximum extent permitted by the law, me&my Health Up disclaims any such representations or warranties to the completeness, accuracy, merchantability, or fitness for purpose of this podcast, and will not be liable for any expenses, losses, damages incurred, indirect or consequential damages, or costs that may be incurred as a result of the information being inaccurate or incomplete in any way and for any reason. No part of this podcast can be reproduced, redistributed, published, copied, or duplicated in a form without prior permission of me&my Health Up.